What's happening? How are you doing today? Thank you so much for being here. I am Chris, and you are listening to the world famous Cool Cars with Chris, man. And on today's episode, let me tell you, it is a doozy because something horrible happened to the new Mustang. Nobody crashed it quite yet, nothing like that, so keep your pants on. But what did happen was that, well, somebody decided to do something horrible to the car while it was parked overnight in my gated community. I'm going to tell you exactly what they did and how I had to fix it on this episode. Plus, Courage has got that little mini bike, his like Frankenstein little mini bike. Well, he's going full scientist mode and he's actually ripping out the engine and putting in a whole new engine. He's really spending a lot of time on this project. I guess what it is. It's a project car after all. And then topping it off. You know those raceways they have around the country? There's a big popular one right here in California called Laguna Seca. And something actually happened recently on the racetrack, a horrible tragedy. Somebody had a serious accident, but guess what? It was not any of the cars racing on the track. What? How's that work? You'll find out all that and more on this episode. Let's go. All right, welcome to another edition of Cool Cars with Chris and Courage. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm good, man. Fresh off of a little sort of weekend escape out in the wilderness.
No way. Where did you go, mountain man?
Oh, yeah, went on a little camping trip this weekend. So first time I've done anything like that in I don't even know how long. So it was a nice little kind of departure from reality a little bit, mainly because I didn't get barely any cell service. And so, really had to kind of be in the moment and enjoy. I got the tent hole set up and everything. So
you went full tenting?
Cool.
Like not
went
camp,
full
like motorhome?
Yep. No motorhome. Yeah. Just we slashed, put everything in the inn. And my wife's parents were here, so they had a van with some of the extra stuff in it. But we had this big, huge tent that, like me, the wife and the two kids stayed in, and then her parents stayed in their own little tent. And yeah, we did the full-on tent camping deal.
What part of the country do you do this in?
Yeah, luckily we didn't go far. We literally were only like maybe 30 or 40 minutes, like outside of Temecula. There's a cool place called Lake Skinner up there, and a really cool facility all in all. Like we got our little area, had that park, had the tent. We were surrounded by like these crazy like RVs and toy haulers and everything. But there were a few people like us that were kind of doing the regular camping deal with tents and everything. But they had a full-on park for the kids, a really beautiful lake where actually my kids caught their first fish this weekend.
No way.
With their grandpa. And so that was a pretty cool little experience there. But clean facility, had everything we needed, even a little camping store to get wood and a couple other things, for the night, grab a beer while we were grilling up the fish that we caught.
That's
amazing.
It was
cool. It was
you
a really cool
ate
deal.
The fish you caught?
It was that, I haven't had that experience yet. So like for my kids, they've had that experience on their first real camping trip, is pretty cool.
That's great. Did you guys do the s'mores? You got to do the s'mores, right?
We did the s'mores. Yep. Uh-huh. We sat around. We even, I like reading books to the kids. And so they had like one of those book exchange, things there. So I like grabbed a couple of books for that night and we just kind of read books around the campfire.
Dude, I love that. That's great. That's fantastic.
The only thing though, it was really, really cold that night.
It does. Mountains, it does get cold. It's probably hot during the day, but when sun drops, if you're sleeping in a tent, those things aren't heated normally, unless you go glamping. I did glamping once. You had a fireplace inside the tent and a king size bed inside the tent. So really, I think that's the way to go. If you're gonna do camping, I think if you're gonna do the glamping is the way to go. I mean, it's like you get the camping experience with like the luxuries of like a normal like room-ish, I guess, so to speak.
But trust me, next time we're going to be looking into this was cool just because it was like, again, my first time since I was young and the kids' first time. But yeah, next time out, we're going to be thinking of some different solutions for sure.
Are you thinking maybe like doing an RV and like doing like the RV travel, or is it maybe I don't know if you have anything to tow a motorhome with, a trailer with.
Well, you can do they rent actually, rent RVs, and you can do like the Class C ones that you really don't need another license for, just kind of the regular like F-350 like
Yeah,
little
they're like a
body cab
van,
one.
like a van
Yeah.
thing kind of thing.
And I think even if you wanted to do like the Class A, I don't remember exactly how that works, but you can rent them out. It's just I guess you would ultimately have to get a Class A license to then do it. But I know that they do rent those out too. So, even if we like went with like, say, some friends or something and did that, like might consider it. But
Look at you, Mr. Camping Dude. That's awesome, man.
yeah, I got to take the mini bike out next. Actually, well, I probably can't. I know that this.
So so fill everybody in. You got handed a mini motorcycle bike called a mini bike. It's got like literally almost like a lawnmower size engine in there in the thing. Have you done anything with the vehicle?
Yeah. It's actually making some improvement. I'm still toying around with whether I want to like shave the whole thing down and repaint it. Because to be totally honest, like I can do stuff mechanically, but I'm never really that good at like visual,
Well,
cosmetic
how bad does it look right
stuff.
now? Is it horrible or something?
No, it's not. It's not really. It doesn't have, the frame itself doesn't really have like any rust, like, small little patches here and there, but the paint itself is like a dark, kind of blue color. So it's not like it, really kind of looks that bad. The fenders, you can easily take those off and just get new fenders. So that's why I'm just like, get the thing running first and see how I like it. And, go back and do the cosmetic stuff later.
It's like any car you work on. It's like save like the paint job to the very end.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that day one. You need a new engine, new transmission. Work on that first.
Work on that. Yeah. And it's pretty easy to take stuff apart too, which like, that's what I have in my mind too. Like, everything's pretty exposed. So it's easy to get the engine in and out and, take off the chain. And, so yeah, I mean, I definitely have changed my tune a little bit versus.
How about the carburetor on the thing? Have you taken it apart?
No. So I've gotten a whole new engine for it.
Whole new engine?
Yeah.
What was wrong with the one it had?
That thing was never going to run again.
Did someone drop sand in there or something or what?
I mean, you should just see how badly rusted the clutch.
Dude, WD-40. WD-40 that thing, give it a gas bath.
Literally all you would hear is probably just like screeching, like the, screeching metal or something as it's like rolling down the road.
And just keep dumping oil over the piston as it runs.
Yeah, like it was not, it was not worth saving at all. But getting a new engine wasn't that bad.
Really? I would think that the engine would be the most valuable part of the whole ride.
Yeah, I mean, surprisingly, there's like some other parts. Like if you want to do you can do like a front suspension upgrade where you kind of upgrade the handlebars and actually have like, sort of shock suspension.
Oh, like those mountain bikes do.
A little bit, yeah. Like it still, still keeps the same like sort of size frame as everything, but it'll kind of give you like a little bit more play if you actually do take it off road and everything. But they do have some crazy motors that like some 12, like the 212cc that I was telling you about.
So what motor came with it? Like what did it have in there?
It was, I think, judging by the size, like it might have been, it had to have been under like a 79cc motor, just judging by the size.
Under 79cc. I think the one my dad had might have been 50 or 49.
Yeah, it looks like it was probably like that, like a 50cc or something of that sort. The motor that I'm replacing with is a 98cc.
Whoa. Okay, slow down, Turbo. My God. Yeah. Hey, Doug, I guess the question the audience wants to know is, are you planning to get NOS for this thing? Hooking it up.
I probably won't get NOS, but you can go pretty crazy with upgrading these with like internal parts. Like you said, you can upgrade like the carburetors. You can actually get in there and upgrade like the piston and change the valves. Yeah, change the valves and all of that. Like I doubt I'm gonna get that crazy, but I did install an intake on it though.
What?
You could take off the stock air box just like on a car. Like you got the stock air box on the side. And so I just got like one of those basically like breather filters, and you just get an adapter that adapts onto it. There's a couple hoses that you got to kind of reroute because like the fuel tank had a breather hose that went through it. You can just kind of get a separate breather hose for it.
And there's no like emissions like a car. There's no like,
like smog.
Right, of course. And I did the same thing on my quad. I had I ripped out the air box and put a K&N unit, but the K&N unit I had the K&N filter, but it had like this, they called it a pre-filter that went over. It was like a bag that went over it, but it was like you can see through it, but it's very, very, very tight mesh. Almost like almost like quite like a plastic, but it's pretty tight. And so it went over that to keep the dust and crap out of the filter too. So like a double filter or whatever. Does yours have something like that too, or is this a straight filter?
No, it's just a straight, straight filter, which like those cold air intake filters with the cone at the end. So I've read some reviews, and it doesn't seem like that's too much of an issue. Obviously I would never be riding it out in the rain, but you don't probably want to get anything water related near that because it will definitely suck that in.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, but it's a cool little small upgrade on there, and I got the back wheels. I got like basically whole new rear assembly, new chain. I got to figure out how to kind of route like the new, because it needed like even the new handlebars and or not handlebar, but the throttle cable and brake cable. So
is it a twist throttle on that thing?
It is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that one was too. When you get into ATVs and quads, they're all thumb throttle, and I didn't know that until I got into one. I was like, why? Why can't I seem to twist this thing? Oh, the throttle's over here. It's a thumb throttle, which you do get used to after a while. Some people hate it, but I didn't mind.
I feel like it would almost be like tiring, like where you're probably never like really kind of full throttling for a long amount of time.
Yeah, on long rides, your thumb does get kind of like sore because you're using your thumb in an awkward position because you're holding your handlebar, your fingers, most of your wrists are hanging around the handlebar, and your thumb is sticking out, your right thumb sticking out, almost like you're giving a high five or a thumbs up, whatever, but sideways, and you're using that to control the throttle. And there's some play with, there's some pushback with it because it's spring loaded and that kind of thing and all that. So it does take some getting used to. But I remember the first time I used it, my thumb was like really sore. My hand was sore. Just that weird, awkward positioning using it. I guess with anything you do that you've done for a long time, like bowling, for example. If you haven't done bowling in a long time, you're like sore afterwards.
Yeah.
Using muscles,
honestly, guys that ride like big chopper motorcycles, when you have to be in that position with your arms up and elevated, sitting up, sort of like, looking up to the sky almost the way you sit. I've heard that like they, after a long ride, they get pretty like, fatigued with just having their arms in that locked position like that for a while. So I feel like it's anything that you're just like in a position for just a long period of time and your body sort of like gets, just locked into it. It tends to give you a little bit of lasting fatigue until you get used to it. Like,
right.
If you've been riding bikes for your whole life, you probably don't even think twice about it. But But yeah, no, it'll be fun. I'm not barely scratched the surface. I still got it. The new motor has different mounting points, so I'll probably have to drill the frame a little bit to get the motor to fit in. But
no way, that's some serious surgery, dude.
It's a little bit of a project. I shared, and the video will probably come out before this comes out. But in the video initially, kind of revealing it, I told people that it's like I've never had a project car before, but I feel like this is a cool like starter into that of like starting from the ground up. And so, we'll see how the whole thing goes. We'll see if we get the little Frankenstein thing running soon.
Well, that's fun that actually you can ride, because it's kind of reminding me there are those little like RC cars you can buy that are gas powered, which do take engines and gas, and they have. I mean, you can spend tons of money on an RC car too, just like you can probably anything else too, or drones or anything that's mobile, really, as a hobby, really. Because I don't think you'd use this as a car to work or transportation. It's more of like a hobby vehicle. I would consider it a hobby vehicle. Where do you plan to like ride the thing around, or have you ridden it at all?
No. In the state it was in, like the flat tire that has been sitting on for like a year outside, it wasn't really going anywhere. But to be honest, like I said, I'll have to look up the rules, but I will probably, like, we got some nice little like straight roads like kind of right behind where we live, and like just kind of taking it out like here and there, like down the street here, and actually nearby we do have some like just like really wide open trails that like people don't really like walk on. It's just kind of out here, just trail areas, just kind of getting a feel for what it might feel like to kind of do a little bit of off-roading with it. Like I'll probably do little stuff locally around here. I don't, we were talking about the other time, the other podcast, but, I see people with like motor bicycles, like legit, bicycles with motors riding around. So, outside of maybe like the noise that it might end up making, like I really don't see this as that much different than that. So, I guess, it'll be innocent until proven guilty.
Right. Well, I mean, it's like, I'd probably do a few, contained test rides somewhere close by. Not like your first drive is going to go out to Glamis and like ride the dunes thing or something.
I will say I'm going to try to avoid as much as possible riding around like my particular community.
Oh, you want to be known as that guy? There's Courage again. There's evil Courage. You're running down the road.
Yeah.
And the neighbors were like, give you a side eye, that kind of stuff.
Although I do got some neighbors that live on the opposite side of us that basically they every once in a while I see them riding their like ATVs, just like slowly cruising. And they're, I think they're called sidecars or something that. Yeah, they'll just like kind of cruise around in those. They got the lights going and everything, and just hear the motors coming around the corner, and they're just cruising around the neighborhood in those. And so, I wouldn't be alone in company of probably doing stuff like that. But
that was funny because my old house had a whole neighborhood was filled with everybody in the neighborhood had desert toys, ATVs, quads, motorhomes, trucks, all that stuff. And come desert season, they would be riding them around the street, just like. It's always good to like, after you work on a vehicle, say you're putting the new engine and things like that, it's probably good to make sure it's all put together correctly before you take it out to the desert. Because that's a long hike to go all the way out there to find out it doesn't work or something like that or whatever. And so I get it. I mean, if you wanted these test drives, I did the same thing. We had quads in the house I was in way before. It had a backyard area, and I take the quads back there. And there's not a lot of space, but enough space to ride the quads around. I was doing that thing. I'm riding them around there and with the kids, and they're real little. I'm talking like real little. I give them little rides around them and stuff in the backyard and things like that. And but I was trying to be discreet about it. Of course, the things get kind of loud, and I try to keep it simple and stuff, but not get too crazy back there. Probably got pretty crazy, and I think about riding around. But at least it was contained and I had a space to do it. And it's probably, I don't know if it's what the legality of that is. I don't, I mean, I didn't have helmets on or anything like that. We're riding around the backyard or whatever.
It was probably what you were talking about the last time around, how like technically you can't get a ticket for like running a stop sign in like a mall parking lot.
Yeah, I kind of wonder how that works.
It's private property.
Right. But I think though, like if something happens or whatever and you die, you can't sue. You can't sue the motorcycle. You can't
sue. Yeah, that's
whatever for you being a dummy, kind of a thing. So, I guess something like that. But if you have a contained space to do it, if you live like in the far country, I'm sure people do this all the time. They don't even care. I remember seeing a video when I bought my quad. My son was probably at the same age as the kid in the video I saw on YouTube. This kid was literally 4 years old, and he's riding a Honda 400, which is the same quad that I had. It's an adult size quad. The kid couldn't reach the bottom of it. He was basically laying on the seat, hands on the handlebars, and his feet were dangling another few inches off the seat because he was so small. And he's riding the thing around like somebody's property, like going for a little, not doing jump, just kind of cruising around or whatever. And I'm like, holy crap,
Well, my little guy's he started claiming that that's his bike.
Oh, really?
My youngest. And so, we'll see when we actually have it going. Like how, I told him, hey, this is for down the road for sure. But, it's got it. And not to say that I would do this, obviously we're talking about like we get held to what we say on things like this, but not that I would actually do this. But the seat is like actually really, some mini bikes have kind of short seats where it's really just meant for one person to sit. But
okay.
This one has a pretty long, like, just seat overall because the frame sits all the way over the top and the seat goes all the way up to the front. And so, theoretically, like, two people could kind of like sit on there.
Give him a little ride, dude.
Give him a little ride.
Give him a little ride around it, and well, first ride it yourself first and get a feel for it.
100, yeah.
And make sure that you know
Especially
what you're
that I'm building this from the ground up. I'm like,
Well, not just that, but make sure that you know how to control the vehicle.
Yeah.
Because once you put two people on a motorcycle, it's way different because the balance gets thrown around a lot. That's one thing you don't really think about. When people ride a motorcycle, the weight shifts around in different ways than you're used to. And so just be careful with that. If they want to like move around and shift around a lot. So
yeah, because it's like it's not just your movements you got to consider. It's theirs too. Like if they,
right,
they lean a certain way, and
the
you're
balance
not ready.
gets kind of thrown off a lot and stuff. So you have to kind of be careful with that. I mean, I've done a lot of crazy things like that, and yeah, I mean, my growing up, we had a tandem bicycle. One of those, it's two people bicycles.
Oh, the 2 feet, yeah.
Yeah, my grandparents had it. My dad took it back to our house, and we had it at our house for a while. And so, as my friends and I would ride the thing around, we also like to play, Daredevil games. And one of the games we like to play was we're gonna like the person behind the driver would cover their hands over their eyes, and we go down a steep hill and see if we can live or die.
Oh my God, yeah. That's yeah.
So basically it's like playing chicken, like kind of a deal and stuff until we like crash into something or whatever. But
your life, you're like the person who's holding holding say the other person's hands over their eyes, like that person's life is in their hands too.
You kind of tell, okay, go turn right, turn left, turn right, no, okay, break, kind of a thing, see if we can control it, kind of a stuff. But yeah, those things are kind of trippy to ride too with two people. Once you get rolling on them, they're pretty easy. But I remember that like you kind of have to like get used to it, and it does have that off balance a little bit because you got two people try to balancing the same thing, going the same thing. But once you get moving, it's pretty easy. I think it just kind of getting going. That was like the last time I actually rode anything like that, and I don't know if they're still around, those two person bicycles. I'm sure they are, but like I haven't seen any. I'm sure there are in some places. You probably rent one, maybe in a Airbnb or some vacation spot. Probably have them for rent.
I would think so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But they're not. I mean, once you get going on them, they're pretty easy to get going. But I think just kind of getting the ball rolling. It's like first time riding a bicycle. Like getting it moving is kind of the hardest part. Because for me, it took me forever to ride a bicycle. Like I was scared to death. I think it would fall over. Every time I get going, they could fall over on me. And when I finally got the bicycle going, I couldn't stop. People had
because you slow down too much, and
well, people had to catch me. Like I would ride around for hours, but people had to like run into people to catch me, so I could slow down, so I could stop and get off the thing.
Yeah.
So, but good times, man. Evil Knievel courage on his little hot rod motorcycle there, man.
Yeah, I got to give me like a skull helmet or something,
or a flag or whatever, kind of thing off the back. You're not planning on like turbocharging the thing, are you?
No, I don't know if I'm sure like anybody can do something crazy out there.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything like any like forced induction or anything. But like I said, the real like the motor I got, just to be transparent, like it was like a $100 motor, and if you can upgrade it.
Yeah, look at you, Mr. Moneybags. $100 motor.
Well, hey, I was like I did say like, okay, I'm not gonna go super crazy with this, but I did like kind of research what like a fully built
what does that cost?
What does that run? I saw just the frame of for minibike kit around like $300 just for the frame.
But the thing with the minibike thing, it always goes back to like, can you use it and where are you going to use it? If you don't have, if you live in New York City, you're not going to own one of these things.
You're
right?
not going
to. Maybe you would, because you can zigzag through traffic and things like that. But then what's the law say about that? And can you use it on the streets and so on and so forth? So if you can use it on the streets legally and get the thing permitted for the streets and registered for the streets, then maybe New York City would be a great place for this thing. You could like carry it to your apartment, and then you could like take it down there and run, all around town. But maybe you can't. So it's kind of wondering.
It just depends on the use case and things.
Right. I think it's the thing too. Like every vehicle I look at now, like what no matter what it is, I think, can I use it on all fronts? Can I park it here? Can I drive it there? Can I easily, keep it here and use it and park it and not having issues with different things? Is it usable, kind of a thing. So like I'm not going to go buy like a tank and say I'm going to park it at my place or whatever, kind of a thing. So it all depends, I guess. That's probably why you see a lot of people like in Texas and places like that. They've got these big, massive trucks, and they've got these big, massive driveways and big, massive yards, and
it's conducive to that.
Yeah, they've got space for that, for anything they want, kind of stuff. It's no big deal. But you try taking
you have one of those and you live in PB.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like in the heart of PB, like in that little area where they just put all of they're not new anymore. They've been here for like 5 years or so, but that little community right off of, it's Mission Beach, actually.
Okay, right.
Near Belmont Park. It's like a, little townhomes and everything. But
yeah, I rented a place down there, yeah.
Yeah, if you ever go within those alleyways where like all of their garages are lined.
Dude, we had, it's funny, we rented a place down there, and I brought the Z because I didn't think the truck would fit. I had the same truck, and I didn't think a truck would fit down there parking wise. I brought my Z. The place we rented had a garage. It had a single car garage, and surprisingly, the Z did fit in that garage. And then my ex-wife's Explorer fit in the spot behind the garage, because they give you the rental had the garage and a spot behind the garage, like single lane spot. That was all you got, and then the alleyway. And so it basically, I wasn't sure if my truck would fit, like from the size her car fit. So my car fit in the garage, and then her car fit behind there. So it made it work. But even with her car there being a Ford Explorer, it still was like, not say barely fit, but it pretty much barely fit in that little spot they have there. So like my truck would never have fit down there. So that's one thing about owning a certain vehicle. You're like, man, like this works now, but like having a Ford F-150 sounds great. But one thing I always hear everybody complain about is parking the thing in normal tight parking spaces. And mine's a little wider than a stock F-150, so it makes it even harder to park. Yeah. It's not any longer. The length is all the same. It's just that it's just a little wider. And if you imagine if you had like a Raptor or a Bronco Raptor, man, those things become really hard.
They're like, they don't seem necessarily that wide, just kind of from, just seeing them compared to other trucks. But I remember a while back on like an old episode of either Top Gear or the Grand Tour or one of those where they drove one around in Europe. And like the comparison of that to see like a Raptor driving down the road, like it's basically as wide as like some of their like buses and things like that.
Oh yeah, you also notice that all the semi trucks in like Europe are those flat nose, what we call cab over style, because of how tight the places are and the tight to get into spots and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
like ours here have the long nose hood, on our semi trucks. Theirs are just flat.
Yeah.
For parking and stuff.
And one thing I'm sure you probably know this, being maybe more of a truck guy, but the lights are like particularly with the Raptor, and I think like the Ram TRX as well. Like those front lights, like they have to legally have those because of the width of the truck.
Mine too.
Yeah. Oh, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got in my truck too, and I think it's because of that. I mean, it's also kind of like an off-road kind of thing.
It is, yeah.
But I heard it's legal. You have to have three amber lights in the middle of the vehicle somewhere, and the semi trucks have it on the hood, on the roof, And so just kind of like they're called marker lights, basically saying that the vehicle is wider than your standard car or whatever kind of a deal.
Yeah.
And so my truck has them too, and but yeah, I mean it's you kind of get used to navigating a bigger vehicle, running around town and stuff, and finding spots. But then it's like a pain in the butt trying to park. Like tonight was a pain in the butt to park, and over the weekend I was pain in the butt to park, and that's why I kind of enjoyed taking the Mustang out when I get a chance to. It's like the car's easier to park in spaces, especially here or wherever I go. It's like, so they whip it in, whip it out, no big deal, super easy to do. Yeah. Although we did have some issues with the Mustang this last weekend.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you want to talk about that,
so I did post on social as it happened. By the time you hear this, it's already come and gone. But on Thursday, I drove the car Thursday night. I took some extended weekend. I took an extra long weekend this weekend, and so I was off Thursday to Monday. 5 days off. Poor me. I get it. I've heard it. So I have 5 days off this weekend. Great. So Thursday, I was off. I parked the car. I used the car. I parked the car. Great. It's parked. Great. And then Sunday, I go out and check the car at the apartment I live in. And I go out to the parking lot there. And I noticed that the rear tire, the driver's side rear tire, is flat. It's sitting on the rim. It's like flat. It's not just low. It's like flat. It's like on the rim flat. And I'm like, well, that kind of sucks. Well, I guess let me figure out how to change this thing and figure out what to do from here. So I called my son out. It's his car. Called him out from the apartment. I said, I'm going to show you how to change a tire. We're going to change the tire. Why not? A better place to learn. It's in a safe place. We're not on the side of the road or anything like that. We're like here, so let's so we dig into the trunk find the donut tire, find the little wing nut thing, unscrew that, get the tire out of the trunk. And below that is the jack and the tools you need and the little, the wrench you need, the lug nut wrench to get the thing off. And so we dig it out. First, I start taking off the tire, start undoing the lug nuts on the tire. As we're unscrewing the lug nuts, my son says to me, "Oh, I think I know. I found what the problem is with the tire." I said, "What?" Because I'm expecting to be like a nail, like on the bottom side of the tire that you can't see, that's laying down on the ground side. I can't see. I'm expecting to see a nail or something. That's what I thought it was. I thought I got a nail in the vehicle, and it probably just bled out by the time for the 3 days went by. It bled out, and then there it is, right? That's what I thought. But no. To my surprise, my son says, this big cut in the side of the tire might have something to do with it. And I'm like, what? How did that happen? So my first thought was, did I hit something? Did I hit a curb or something? I might have hit a, but if I hit a curb, I don't think there's no scuff marks or like that. So anyways, we changed the tire and put the donut tire on there. And the donut tire was flat too, but it sucked. So that was flat. Had to put fix a flat in the donut tire just to get the donut tire to have just enough air in it to take us to the gas station, to put air in it. And then immediately I just Googled on my phone, like tire repair places around here that are open on a Sunday. And so I found a place nearby, went over there, told them everything. It was a used tire kind of place. They said they sell new tires, but all they really had in their place was like all like used tires kind of thing, which at this point I'm like, throw it on there because it's Sunday, everyone's closed. And I got this stupid little donut tire on there, which you can't run a car on a donut tire.
Not long term, yeah.
Right. You really shouldn't probably run those even on the freeway, I don't think. I mean, you probably could if you had to, but I don't think I would want to. And
well, it's good you had a spare too, because I know a lot of cars now don't. Like, I don't have a spare tire. I just have one of those, inflator kits in the back.
Really, how's that work?
Technically, like the stock tires are considered like run flat tires.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so they can assume you could like theoretically pump the tire up enough to get somewhere. But in your case, like if it was like you literally like got a slash in the tire, it's like,
right, totally.
I couldn't pump it up even if I wanted to.
Well, that's the thing too. And then what gets me, these tires on the Mustang were brand new. They were like brand new tires on the thing we bought, which is great. So I go over there, show the guy the tire. I said, yeah, it definitely looks like a slash. Because you don't see you don't see any like scuff marks on the tire, like you hit a curb or something like that. Nothing like that at all. And he also asked me, when you saw the tire, where was the slash? Was it on the bottom of the rim or the top of the rim when you found it? I said, the top of the rim. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Nobody's like, usually people aren't like reaching all the way down to the bottom of the wheel and like doing that. Like,
and if they slash at the bottom, I think their knife or would get stuck with the tire starts deflating on their thing maybe because the weight of the car goes onto their knife. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, who in the hell would do that? Like, why would someone do that? Yeah. And it kind of really pisses me off thinking that I want to believe that people are good people, that people are not saying like over the top nice, like they want to go out their way and do nice things for everybody. But I have a feeling that I think most people want to not be jerks. They want to be decent people and just do decent things, not necessarily go out of their way to help somebody, but at the same time, not go out of their way to like slash a tire on a car. And so that really frustrated me to death. So we got that fixed, and it goes to show that I mean, no matter what you do, no matter where you park, no matter where you live, that bad things can happen for no reason or any reason. And I live in a gated community too, which pisses me off too. Mm-hmm. So, and I mean, I don't know, like it's one of those things. I guess maybe it was the luck of the draw because I've known lots of people that have had their cars broken into or something, and it's never happened to me. It's never happened to me. I've never had my car broken into or anything like that or any kind of personal damage until this incident. But I've never had anything happen. And maybe because the car does stand out in the crowd, because the car is a bright red car in a sea of plain Jane color cars.
But that's even more like frustrating where it's like, it wasn't even like, an attempt to like, steal anything. Obviously it's good that wasn't, but like that just really points to like, just honestly somebody being like a little sour and like jealous of like something. Cause
You're
like,
jealous of a 20-year-old freaking Mustang.
I mean, obviously, yeah. Like
come
you're
on,
like,
you know?
if you like really, but at the same time, like what other reason? Like, cause you can't, I just can't even imagine how that would be an accident. Like,
Well,
I was just walking around and my blade was out.
My first reaction was like, how did this happen? I was thinking like, could have been an accident. I hit a curb. I hit something in the road. That's my first thought was like, but then everyone says if it happened as an accident on the road, like you say, you would have known immediately. You would, the car would have like immediately bang, pop, blown. All the tire would have gone out. You would have happened immediately. It wouldn't have been it wouldn't be able to drive back on the thing kind of thing. And so that always kind of like, it kind of frustrates me,
Yeah.
And so I want to believe, because I want to believe in good people. I want to believe people are good. I want to believe that good things happen and people have like good, decent thoughts and actions. And if people want to keep to themselves, fine. That's great. If you don't want to help somebody, fine, but don't hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Just because.
Go out of your way to do that. Yeah.
That's the thing that frustrates me. And I just can't even wrap my head around it, like why anybody would do that. And it's not like, I not try to be in everyone's business around here. And I don't know who it was, if they live here, probably not. I mean, I wouldn't think so. But I don't know that I just can't even believe it,
Yeah. No, I mean, you talking about that too reminded me because been blessed too to like never actually really have like a full on, I guess, really like a full on like break-in or like stolen car, situation. But I did have a situation a long time ago when I was in college with my Z, actually my 300ZX, where somebody had broken like the back quarter window. You recognize, if you remember those, like with the Z, like one of the hardest ones to replace. They broke that back quarter window. And for a while, I never even knew that they stole anything because I didn't actually remember like what I had in the car, and I didn't really notice that anything was gone. And but it was just such an annoyance trying to figure out like to get that pane of glass because it was it was discontinued by a lot of companies, by Nissan, and so luckily I found one parts store that had it and was able to get it replaced. But back then, you being a college kid, that was like money that it could have went to so many other things.
Even today, it's like here I'm dumping money into the car. Like I didn't plan on doing that, And and I know that speaking of getting parts, is that I remember on the last episode that earlier that went out, I mentioned about upgrading the sound system to a $50 Amazon CarPlay car unit. They didn't steal that. They didn't break in and steal anything. They slashed the tire. They didn't steal that. That's on the dash. They can totally see that from the outside of the car. They didn't steal that, which is kind of funny. But what's weird about that unit is that the unit's great, although it okay, here's a weird thing about the car. It's got the Ford factory Shaker 500 sound system from Ford in the Mustang. It's great. It sounds great. It's great. It's from 2005. It even has an auxiliary button on the radio. Great. Which is funny because it does not have an auxiliary like port anywhere in the car. And they didn't come out with the port until 2007. Even though it was built into the radio, they did not have the actual like plug until 2007. So here we are in 2005 with 2005's unit, and I want to hardwire the Apple CarPlay directly to the stereo because it'll sound better. I don't have to bounce around from different radio stations. Might be better for phone calls. In theory, it would sound way better. So I'm trying to figure out the research on it. I go to a stereo shop to help me do this. And they say, the part you need has been discontinued like years and years ago. Nobody uses auxiliary ports for anything anymore. Everyone does Apple CarPlay or wireless CarPlay or things like that. Nobody uses auxiliary connections for like iPod Nanos anymore. Nobody does that anymore. So they don't even have the part anymore. for those
Man,
radios.
the time where like, with kids, they're probably like in their 20s now, where it was like, they got excited to pass the aux cable around in the car and listen to music. The times where that was like a thing, where now it's not a thing anymore.
Well, you kind of can do it now. I don't know if you didn't know this, on Apple CarPlay, you can do that with the latest Apple CarPlay. I remember there was a function on there to where you can share your Apple CarPlay with other users in the car, and they could link into it and play their stuff through your thing. Something goofy like that. I remember seeing the feature for it when I logged on to it, and I was like, hey, I'm never going to use that. But okay, I see it there.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. But so anyways, so today I made the decision, since we can't connect things the way I want them to be connected, and I wanted the backup camera installed anyways, and I have them doing the installation. And so today I'm just going to have them rip that entire stereo out and put in something that's, from this year, I guess, into the car. And so it's not a super like high fancy one, but it is a full on, Apple CarPlay touchscreen unit. It's going to go and replace the factory unit. And they're going to give me a backup camera all installed. So they're going to do the whole thing and doing the thing right now as we speak. It's being done right now. And hopefully, in theory, it should make the car like fairly new-ish. Because, my son's going to be driving the thing. I want something easy that they can connect his phone to it, and it's going to work flawlessly. And he can use a backup camera when he backs up into place. That thing's really hard to back up. You can't see out of the back window when you're backing at all, because it kind of sits kind of high in the rear end. The window's kind of high. The rear window's kind of high up. And so you really can't see behind the bumper at all when you're backing, like at all. And so you're just guessing if you're going to hit something back there as you're backing the thing up, whether you're going to back into somebody or something like that. I mean, use your mirrors, of course, things like that. But directly behind your bumper, forget it. You won't see nothing. And so everybody I've heard that's had a Mustang from that year, like they want to get backup cameras, or they have gotten backup cameras installed, just because it's very hard to see behind the back of the trunk of that car.
Yeah.
So the stereo shop's going to do it. They give me a decent price. I felt it's decent to have something like that set up in the car and all installed. So I'm having them do it, have it all done. So, but I'm going to kind of miss the factory radio. There's something cool about the stock factory radio in that car.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of a cool setup, cool stereo. I mean, it had like a 6-disc back in the day CDs, kids. What's a CD? Look it up.
Well, yeah, because I'd never really experienced a car that had that until like I got the M, and then the FX had it too, where you had the 6-disc cheap CD
this car,
changer.
the radio, the stock radio on the car is a 6-disc CD changer that's in the dash. So you feed the discs in there, it changes them in the machine or whatever, and behind the thing there. And although I don't have any CDs around here to put in, I really kind of want to try it out and see what it sounded like. But
there was a CD in one of the cars when I bought the car. It was like left by the owner that didn't, I guess, forgot that they had some of their CDs in there, and it was some like jazz album or something like that. But it was pretty cool. Like I was going through and I didn't realize anything was in there, and I went to the CD and it went to it. I was this is what that previous owner was listening to. And so, you tell a little bit about a person by what they were listening to. So,
definitely.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Definitely. And I think it's weird how today's cars and today's car radios don't have any of that stuff, really.
Mm-hmm.
Although at the stereo shop I was at today, they did have for sale like some of the like sleek, like CD players from back like the 90s and early 2000s. Not the big giant ones that were like the big screen, but like the small thin ones, that like covered like one little slot kind of deals. Yeah. I had one in my Nissan Frontier. I upgraded the radio in that because it did have a bigger one, but I wanted something newer and better and all that stuff. Of course, I was really into audio back then, really into car stereos back then. Like, give me the amps, give me the subwoofers, give me the the better stereos and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I think once I got into like Apple CarPlay, my current truck and things like that, I kind of evolved out of that urge to get like the greatest, latest amps and all that kind of stuff and subwoofers. Although my Z had it set up. My Z had a stock, like modified radio for the previous owner. It had like a full touchscreen thing, and it wasn't Apple CarPlay. It was like whatever was available before Apple CarPlay came out. Like touchscreen radio, subwoofer in the trunk, and all that kind of stuff. And so I had that in the Z, and it sounded okay. I mean, it was what it was. It was decent, you know.
It's kind of funny that you mentioned that because I being like into music and like I produce like music and all of that and I don't know why like I've never really like been into that, like even my like older brothers, like they had just some like insane stereo systems on their car.
It might have
like,
been an older brother thing.
Well, yeah, like I just was like,
different
oh, my brother
generation.
thought that was cool. Yeah, because I just have never really like even I remember with my Z, like I for a while I like went around with like one speaker wasn't even working, like like my passenger side speaker wasn't working, or no, it was the passenger rear speaker. Like I knew for sure that it was out, and so I like panned it in a way where it
you kind of panned it out of there, right?
Yeah, but like I just for some reason like I did a whole bunch of other stuff to the car, but it just never really. And I did upgrade the stereo just because the stock one started to die, and I had to get a new one. But
like necessity, but it wasn't like upgrade because you wanted a better sound system.
I just wonder because I being from like the Bay Area and everything, like back in when I was younger, like that was the thing. Like you get
I think it was for me when I grew up in high school and college. It was the thing. It was it was the car stereos. They had magazines and events and competitions, and my buddies were into that kind of stuff, and my friends had cars and they were into that kind of stuff, and so I kind of became into that kind of stuff, and they were dropping thousands of dollars on
I mean, if we watched like
stuff.
Fast and the Furious and all that, it was like that was part of it too a little bit.
It was during that time when people had like you open the trunk and it's like subwoofers are like perfectly mounted in the side of the trunk, and the amplifiers were on display in the middle, and the wires were all tucked in nice and neat like, and of course you ride around with them in their car, and they would blast like a concert. They blasted so loud it was like you're in a concert, and just showing it off with their different CDs and different things, and just cruising around, just showing you what it can do, and just be super crazy, like loud on another level, kind of loud. And I thought that was kind of cool. I kind of want to do that too. Probably back in the day, I was into music, and I was into like listening to music and going to concerts and going to places like that, played loud music a lot and things like that. So I totally got it. But I think now today, people are probably a little more into more convenience and podcasts and listen to different things and not having to have it on like full blast and like shake the ground and shake the car next to you. Although there are people who still do that.
I mean, wouldn't it be awesome though, while somebody's listening to this podcast and have a super crazy sound system just blasting down the street, like just hearing people talking about cars. Just
car stereos.
That would be, talking about the car stereos in there. That would.
But I remember even back then, I had one of those like big giant folder like books of CDs. My CDs, the big folder thing, and then you flip through the thing and pull CDs out. And I had, when I upgraded to my other car, I thought I made it because I had a system that had the one on the dash and had a 10 disc changer in the back. And then I bought an additional cartridge. So you could pull one cartridge of 10 and slap in another cartridge of 10. And this is back when it evolved away from CDs and became more of like mixed CDs, where I was able to burn CDs on the computer. So I would make tons and tons. This is before I had an iPod. So it's like, I'd burn all my songs into multiple different CDs, and then I would just like slap that into the car and slap another one into the car. So it was kind of like having an iPod, but like on the CD side of it all. Yeah. And I'd rock out with that. Had a subwoofer in the back, and I had an amplifier and new speakers. Yeah, I think I did go pretty nuts. I mean, I didn't go crazy nuts, but today no one does that. Like nobody, I don't think anybody does that. I mean, people probably do, but I mean, the stereo shops are in business for a reason. They're still around.
I will say I do know some folks that still got some insane, crazy systems. Like, I went to a random meet the other day.
No way.
And some people got some insane stuff. Like to the point where it's like they want, like some people actually they got speakers in the grill on the outside of their cars.
Oh, blasting outwards. Like, hey, we're listening to it. You get to listen to it too.
Yeah. Whatever I'm listening to, everybody's listening to right now.
Yeah, I seen videos. There's one video on Instagram where this guy's blasting something. I forget how many watts or how many speakers, but it's so bad, like the whole windshield like shakes out, almost like the windshield shakes of the vehicle. Kind of a thing. Like that's kind of like it's just all competition where it shakes so much. It's just like it's so much sound and bass that it's crazy. Like you have to have like multiple batteries just to power everything.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's just nuts. But like I said, the weird thing today, like most people don't care about this stuff. And I think maybe I kind of fall into that group too, where like I don't have to have, like, 5 subwoofers in the back and like, 10,000 watts and all this stuff. Like I don't need that. Like, yeah, I mean, no, I mean, I think I'd rather have a nice sounding, decent Apple CarPlay system that works all my stuff.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, you also want to mention something about an accident that happened at a raceway, popular raceway, Laguna Seca.
Yeah.
What happened at Laguna Seca, and who crashed into who, and who's at fault?
Yeah. So this has been floating around for a little while, and initially I was like, okay, it's an accident, like they're it's going to kind of pass in the news, but it's kind of continuously been evolving because lay the groundwork. Basically, there was a track event, and so they do these every once in a while where people bring their own cars to the track, and they do maybe like a time attack situation. It's usually not like an actual like race. It's they usually kind of try to keep gaps between cars. You have rules about passing and different things like that. But in this situation, I guess something happened on a track where it was a red flag, and everybody had to stop. And so, people were stopping on the track, but they are told to move, off of the racing line, essentially, when when you have a, caution flag where you have to stop. And so, most of the cars were pretty much like on the shoulder, maybe a little bit on the track. But what happened was all the cars were stopped. And there's video of it, of one guy in this really, really beautiful R32 GT-R. He's just sitting in the car. And all of a sudden, you just hear like, this big crash behind him, and he starts moving. And so basically an employee that works at the track that was driving, I forgot what they call it. It's kind of like a tractor, essentially, that was, driving along the track, just crashed into him while they were on this red flag. And, obviously, what, came of it is, some people were saying, oh, well, he wasn't all the way off of the racing line. And so, he was, sort of in obstruction of the vehicle trying to go by. But there's a lot of rules, and I've been kind of reading into it more as it's become this kind of big blown out thing that the track should have probably had a spotter for the driver of the tractor on the road, which they didn't have.
This?
It's sort of like one of those crane arm,
like a bulldozer?
Tractors. It's sort of, but essentially, I think there might have been, say, an accident or something ahead of everybody, and he might have been going out to try and like pull the car out of the.
I would think there's probably like a frontage road or a frontage path or something that's not on the track itself that they can kind of like run on that to get to the point where they need to toast up, not run along.
It depends. Like because there, where it happened was literally crossing like the main, not really straight because it's not straight on that track, but it was going down like the main, I guess you can say finish line road going to the first corner. And you do have the pit lane off to the side. But if they were trying to get to something that was sort of in between that area where the pit lane and the main road was, there's a possibility that like, he didn't want to have to go all the way down the pit lane and then turn around and come back. So, he probably decided, oh, well, I'm just going to go along the track because whatever I'm trying to get to is like, the opening for the pit lane is, overshooting that. I don't want to have to turn around and make a U-turn.
Well, don't they have like a little like pace car or something that kind of gets in front of it to kind of guide it?
Usually, yeah. Well, that's what they're saying. They were, theoretically, they would have had like a spotter or somebody for the tractor because all the rest of the cars on the track were stopped. So because they were under that caution flag, and so they were told to all stop.
Okay, when you have a emergency vehicle and it's running down the road, you're supposed to pull over to the side, right, and get out of the way. Did the people on the track do that? Or just sit in the middle of the road?
So this is where it sort of started. That's a valid question. Was that some people said that like the flag that they had, they were supposed to kind of stop in place where they were, but you were supposed to move off of the racing line to give space for any emergency vehicles or whatever. And some people speculated and were saying that, that they weren't far enough to the right of the track to be considered off of the racing line. So that was really like the initial, part of it where they were like, well, they could have, went all the way off to the shoulder and maybe that would have given enough space for this, tractor or whatever to make its way through the track. So there's that. That's where I think the track Laguna Seca is leaning towards, saying that they might not have necessarily fully complied with the red flag because they were still, they weren't fully off of the racing line. The other side of the coin, though, which is really interesting, and what they're kind of countersuing is that a lot of people say, and we were kind of talking about it, is if you take your car to the track, you sort of inherently have to, obviously you should have track insurance, which, people don't know about that being a thing.
What is track insurance?
Yeah. Because your typical car insurance, as I'm sure you probably would guess.
So what's track insurance cover? Is it like, how does it work?
Essentially, I think you would probably have like agreed value of like the car that you're taking on the track.
Right.
And in the event that something happens, you're insured for like the repairs of the car. And so, obviously, it's probably pretty
like
expensive.
Total loss.
But
I can't imagine being like, if you're doing like, say you're doing you're a drift car, like you're gonna damage that thing.
No, yeah. You can't. You probably couldn't use it for, say, something like, I shredded my tires and my bumper
Bob,
fell off.
Hey, Bob, calling you again this weekend. I took a car out. Yeah, I need new tires or new bumper or whatever. It's got to be.
This is definitely more of like total loss.
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so.
So, you do have track insurance for that reason. But again, people were arguing that, if you take your car on the track, you kind of inherently have the risk that something could happen like this. But my, one perspective that I have is like, yes, I understand from the perspective of, yes, if you were driving and you say you overshoot a corner, you go into a wall or somebody else on the track, misjudges and you have an accident with somebody on the track, like those are the inherent natures that you probably should be considering on the track. But I personally don't believe that you should be accounting for the workers at the track being part of the reason where, you'd have a total loss to your car.
Okay, $1 million question, Coach. I'm answering right now. Do you think he got fired?
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah,
he did get fired.
I was looking at the article, and I believe, he did. They did let that guy go. But the track they technically still don't want to claim that they were completely in the wrong, which is kind of weird too.
How much is that car worth that got damaged?
Well, it was actually two cars. It was an R32 and an R34 Skyline. I think it might have been like a Nissan sponsored event or something of that sort.
Possible.
But
so I think maybe $500,000.
No, I wouldn't say that much. Probably in like the hundreds, maybe two. Like, the R34 is probably up there. R32s aren't really that expensive now, to be totally honest. Like, you can pick one of those up, if it's not in the greatest condition, for probably like $20,000 or something like that. Well, I'm assuming
it's track ready, and I'm just assuming that that's a track car and it's got track stuff and maybe a blueprinted engine, and it's probably got all the valve.
Yeah.
I'm just assuming that stuff. It's probably got the best suspension and tire. I'm just assuming that because it's on the track.
Well, that's the thing, though, is that like with, the old adage where they say like modifying cars actually doesn't necessarily, increase the value of the car.
That's true. But like I'm saying, like if you were to buy the car, if someone somebody bought the car at auction, and I'm saying like all the parts and stuff to put into it to make it track ready, if you're actually going to race it on a track like that, it's probably more expensive than your cheaper, beater you picked up off Craigslist or whatever kind of a thing.
No, and if you're just thinking of like, what the owner is out in terms of, what he put into the car,
and speaking of track insurance, bought the car. I wonder if you have to like keep receipts for that stuff.
Well, because really the only thing you would need to prove is like, you purchased track insurance or you had a policy that was active like the day of the event.
Well, I know that some insurance, speaking of stereos back in the day, I remember the guy who had his car broken into, not me, of course, but he had his car broken into. They stole his car. He was telling me, because he had the fancy sound system, is that when he did his insurance on the car, that they were able to add all that stuff and make it part of the insurance policies, make the vehicle worth a certain amount because of all the stuff he had in the vehicle or something. So they kind of, it's I guess same thing with a house too. Like if you have a house that has different things and different stuff that, or maybe if you're getting like insurance for your belongings inside the house, how like if you have a multi-million-dollar sound system or what I'm saying, just whatever, expensive stuff or whatever, versus someone who's got nothing, I just wonder if you have all these, track parts on the car that are worth a lot, or say you have an engine that was handcrafted and hand rebuilt in Japan by the guys at Nismo, I'm sure that's worth a lot,
Yeah.
And so I wonder if you have like receipts for that and show the insurance company, they're like, hey, I got these, this is what this is and all this kind of stuff. And maybe got pictures and documents and all that kind of stuff. So I wonder if the track insurance would cover all that stuff.
Yeah. And I bet that's probably really the issue why they're really going after the facility itself, is because there was probably like a denial on the policy for some reason, where, this was maybe outside of the bounds of what the policy was going to cover.
It's like this odd thing. Like it says right the policy, if you hit a wall, you're covered. If another racer hits you, you're covered.
If a telehandler is what it was called. It doesn't say anything about
tractors from the Laguna Seca. I guarantee you, some insurance adjuster saw that and it says, well, a fine print says it does not say anything about that on here. So we're not covering it. I guarantee it's what happened.
Like I said, I would not be surprised at all. That's definitely something that was like outside of the realm of what they probably considered would happen. And that's kind of the point that I was making, is just that I just don't feel like that's something that you account for when you take your car out to like a sanctioned event. Like you anticipate that, if something were to happen, it's going to be, again, my fault, another driver's fault, but not the facilities, operators themselves, doing something that, I mean, who knows? Like if he really wasn't wrong, again, it was just probably a lot going on. But again, you wouldn't necessarily, that's like rolling up to, a restaurant or whatever and, getting soup spilled on you and you get injured or whatever. And you're like, well, that's just kind of the inherent nature of being in the restaurant. You might get soup spilled on you. Like, it's like, and you're not walking around with insurance that covers you for, burns from getting hot soup thrown on you. But,
there is insurance thing for everything for the most part. If you want to pay for it.
Yeah.
They'll insure, I mean, anything and everything. Insurance brokers love that kind of stuff, I'm sure. But
oh yeah,
but sometimes they just won't cover you for. It seems like they won't cover for things that seem like they would happen, but it seems like they'll cover you for things that will never happen. Oh, you want asteroid on the head insurance? Yeah, we'll cover you for that. No problem. That'll be $100 a day or whatever it is. The odds that happening are like 1 in a million. So okay, sure, we'll cover you, no problem. So I just wonder about that. I
mean, it's like us in here, like, it's not related to cars, but us in California, we got to have earthquake insurance. And
oh, you do? We don't have to have it. They offer it, but we don't have to have it.
They offer it. Yeah, well, have to.
If you live on a fault line, if you live in San Francisco area, in the Bay Area, I'm sure you have to have it up there.
Yeah.
But down here in San Diego, they mentioned it. They said, no. I mean,
but one you do actually have to have is fire insurance. It's really big here.
That's probably good. Well, there's fire, there's wildfire and regular fire.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, wildfire particularly here in like a lot of areas here in like the Inland
canyons.
Empire. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you live near a canyon area, lots of brush, definitely. And there's also like flood insurance too. If you're in a flood zone, and if you're not in a flood zone. Speaking of flooding, it's flooding here in San Diego. And it's raining and it's flooding. And I heard the rain happening as we're talking right now, pouring on the roof.
Yeah.
And
Mission Valley is probably underwater.
Oh, gosh, forget it. Yeah. There's some areas. I saw on the news today, there was some flooding. Where was it? It was like that looks familiar. Oh, I know. It was over by Sports Arena. I recognize the buildings. Like, oh yeah, I recognize those buildings over there in cars that were flooded. But
it looks a little different probably with like a whole bunch of water surrounding it.
Right. That's a lot of those kind of roads. I remember the big floods we had a couple years ago. I was going to work one day and the entire road, the whole freeway was shut down, closed. They diverted everybody off this exit. I'm like, why are they diverting us off here? And the freeway was flooded, literally flooded. But the funny thing is the side road I took had been flooded earlier in the day, because I saw all kinds of debris piled up on top of cars on the side of the road. So it must have like flash flooded right through there and flooded out, and they diverted us through there. And like I must have just missed it because I saw the road was like all muddy and kind of like had debris all over the road, like a tornado or hurricane came through here. Yeah. And the side of the road had like rocks and crap piled up against cars and stuff on the side, and like crap.
Did it seem like it was like, but like it had gotten like roof high on the cars or like hood high on the cars? Or?
Some of the videos I've seen it did. And through that spot there too, it might not have got that high, but high enough to damage cars. I'm sure probably like door jam high, kind of high.
That's a lot. Yeah. Like at that point. Yeah. That's a flood car, which,
Right.
That sucks, man. It's just crazy that's like, that's, it just happens so quick out there. And, you'd think after all these years that we've kind of figured out something,
Well, I remember in the news seeing the cars in the storm drains being pushed along with all the water, like just pushed down the river. Cars being pushed down the river in the rain, just flooded away, just washed away, and just being people cut across a road that's being storm and then flooding, and the river is going down, and the car just gets swept away and just running down the river like all the other cars. I mean, water and fires. The funny thing is, two elements that we all know and love can, kill us.
Wreak havoc. Yeah.
Water can destroy things and fire can destroy things, both differently, but they both destroy things.
Yeah. No, not to belabor, but I remember there was way back, it was probably like a good 6-7 years now, but over in Ocean Beach, they had built these like properties right on the beach over there, and it was kind of a high kind of class situation because if they found out actually that there was like a little bit of malicious intent with one of the guys that like owned one of the properties there, but he kept his cars down in like one of the underground garages there. And in two separate situations, they had like really bad floods where it literally flooded the entire underground garage.
Oh yeah.
And he had like a Ferrari and like a McLaren down there. And then the second time it happened, he had another set of, supercars down there. The second time was when they sort of, when he, insured, went to his insurance and everything. I think that there were issues with like them trying to prove that like he didn't know that this was like a known issue and that he was kind of trying to get him written off. So it was a whole thing that like happened way back, but it was just crazy that like this was like, prime real estate, and this guy had, was just living his life. And at least the first time around, like he just was in the wrong place and just flooded out. And so, yeah, it's pretty interesting that like our beautiful city, San Diego, with, this right on the water, and it has all of the awesome beaches and different things like that. It's a little ironic that that flooding is kind of a big issue for us that happens a lot of times around this season. But like I said, I hope there's not too much damage, but it seems to still take a toll every year.
Yeah, I saw a car, the Highway Patrol posted a video or picture today, like right when it started happening, and there's a car that you saw their roof in the water.
Wow.
And kind of a deal. They drove in a spot that was, if you're going to drive into a puddle, you probably should turn around if you can't. If it starts going deep, I know people do it in their cars and their Jeeps and whatever. They drive through in their trucks. My truck, I probably would. Also, too, like, I don't know how deep this stuff is, though. You don't really know how deep it is.
You really don't know. Like, because if you get to a certain point, it really doesn't matter. Like, because especially if it's a taller vehicle, like if it gets to a certain point, like it can easily, like your car can just kind of start to get lifted off its wheels, and it'll just take, like if it's rushing water, like it'll just take the car. So, or the truck even. So it's like some people, might think, yeah, like I got these big beefy tires and I can just roll through it. But, if you don't know,
they will start to float. Off, the tires do start to float on water. I remember when we used to cross rivers in the ATVs, when one time we were out there, a big rainstorm out there, and all these washes are normally sand washes you'd ride the quads in were like rivers now. That's been across them to kind of get back to where you're at. We cross through them, and like your steering kind of gets really loose. Like like it does almost like they kind of float on the water as you're running across it. It's kind of a trip. And so I'm sure cars do the same thing and that sort of thing. So, but hopefully this doesn't do a ton of car damage. Maybe on the future episode, we'll talk about, insurance claims and what is claimed and how much you pay for what in what state. Because I'm sure car insurance is probably different state to state.
Yeah.
Flooding is
probably
the
other
big
place
one.
I feel like is probably a lot worse is like Florida, Louisiana,
Alabama, places like that.
Yeah.
It's got to be, like flooding is a big one. And one thing I did hear, speaking of smoking tires earlier, is I saw a clip they're talking about. They said they'll never buy a car from Florida.
Yeah.
Do you see that clip? Because they said it's just like obviously the flood damage and all that. But also one thing I didn't think about is that the cars stink. They smell so bad because it said nobody rolls down their windows in Florida. They just got the AC cranking the entire time enclosed. So they smoke, I'm sure, in there. And they've got, all kinds of crap in there. And
they're probably
food.
like all sweaty and everything.
That too. and just like food wrappers and stuff in there. And like all kinds of crap in there. And the fact they never, ever like roll down the windows. Like I always got to roll the windows down in my truck. I always roll them down. And on a clear day, I got to get that heat kind of like muskiness out of the vehicle. And then once it got rolling, then I'll turn the air on or whatever. But I have to like get that out and blow it out before but I also like to have fresh air. That's just me,
I'm the same.
I can't have it all boxed up and hot box or whatever, that kind of thing. Well, Courage, man, this has been so fun having you on the show tonight. Kind of a sporadic, like last minute episode, man. It was so great to have you on, man.
I know. Yeah. Thanks for moving things around. And I mean, sure, even this will probably be out a few weeks, so people probably won't even tell a difference. But as usual, always great to talk some cars.
And until next time, you can find Courage. Where can you find you on your YouTube channel? Is it Driven N Dad? What is the call sign for that? Or however you say it? Yeah,
just Driven Dad. Yeah, I do emphasize the N here and there, but yeah, just the Driven Dad 22 will take you right to it on YouTube and Instagram. And yeah, if you're in the San Diego area too as well and want to know about cool events, I post about those every week too. So be sure to check out the Instagram for that.
And I'll try to put your handle for YouTube in the show notes of this episode. I got to remember to do that from now on. And you can find everything here at coolcarswithchris.com. You can drop a line. You can check out past episodes. You can subscribe. You can do all the wonderful things. One-stop shop, coolcarswithchris.com. And we will see you on the very next episode. Don't go anywhere.